Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 28:15 Free State 1.
Boom, boom, boom.
The flames from the explosions stretched across the void. As the many powerful figures present took action one after another, many Free State objects were blasted to pieces. However, all the desperate scenes unfolded. These creatures did not disappear after they died. Their shattered bodies became pure energy particles, which were then quickly absorbed by other creatures of the same kind around them. After absorbing the energy spilled from the corpses of their companions and the surrounding battle, the surviving free-floating objects became larger, their cores brighter, and their auras even more terrifying. Moreover, as the combat energy intensified, space became even more distorted, and more free-floating matter emerged from the void. That's all. Stimulated by the intense energy fluctuations from the outside world, the previously dormant spherical worlds around them also began to erupt in chaos. Snap, snap. One by one, the spheres shattered. Countless strange and powerful creatures rushed out from inside. There are giant snakes with 3 heads, giant monsters whose bodies flow with magma, and void hunters that can become invisible. These are all experimental subjects left behind by the Star Clan. After countless years of natural selection, those who survive to the present are at least at the chariot level, and some are even at the bishop level. The situation instantly spiraled out of control. This is no longer an exploration, but a chaotic 3-way battle. The Free State's creatures, purgers, indiscriminately attack all living things. The experimental monsters kill any creature they see, while the Star Alliance is caught in the middle, attacked from both sides. This is a trap. They don't allow outsiders to enter this place at all. We've violated a taboo. The Star Clan's rule is to kill all outsiders who enter this place. A powerful member of the celestial race roared in despair before being swallowed up by a gigantic, free-floating creature. On the edge of this chaotic battlefield, the dragon fleet remained unusually quiet. The Zulong hovered there silently, neither firing nor activating its high-energy shield. Bai Longjiwanmo stood on the bridge, his expression frighteningly calm. He turned to look at Zhang Yi, Luo Qiao, and the elites of the Dragon Clan behind him, and gave them an order that surprised everyone. Pass down the order. All personnel, conceal your presence, shut down all active detection radars, and reduce the spaceship's energy output to the minimum required to maintain the maintenance system. You have to make a move. You absolutely have to make a move. Senior, why is this? If we keep fighting, they'll charge in, asked the Skywing clan member standing nearby, stamping his feet anxiously as he watched the fierce battle outside. Hit? How are you going to hit me? Zhang Yi glanced at him, a cold smile playing on his lips. Didn't you notice? These transparent things are like white blood cells in this giant body. Zhang Yi pointed to the free-floating objects outside and said, he certainly knew what these things were. According to the Jaman records, the names of the are purifiers. The DO are administrator programs created by the Star Clan specifically to maintain order in the Star Corridor. They have no wisdom, no sense of pain. Their only logic for action is to eliminate high-energy reaction sources. The original intention of creating them was to prevent the experimental subjects in those worlds from rioting, or to prevent the energy core from overloading. Therefore, the daimyo are extremely sensitive to energy. The stronger the energy you release and the more elaborate your moves, the more like a virus they will see, and the more attacks you will attract. Zhang Yi explained to the person beside him, I can roughly tell that they are extremely sensitive to energy fluctuations. The more desperately you fight, the more of these purifiers you will attract. On the contrary, Bai Long took over the conversation, forming hand seals. A mysterious and profound spatial fluctuation slowly spread out, like an invisible veil, enveloping all the warships and personnel of the Dragon Clan's column. As long as we radiate hostility and release high-energy fluctuations, in their eyes we are just harmless background figures, dust in the universe. Spatial isolation. Great annihilation concealment technique. As the white dragon cast its spell, the dragon columns seemed to vanish from this dimension. A magical scene unfolded. The purifiers flying everywhere, and even those frenzied experimental monsters actually didn't even notice the dragon fleet when it passed by. The dragons roared and howled as they bypassed the silent area and rushed towards the Tyrannosaurus and feathered dragon fleets that were unleashing a furious barrage of firepower in the distance. This works? Benjamin Morgan stared in disbelief, spilling a mouthful of red wine from his hand. That's the value of intelligence. Zhang Yi said calmly, looking at the other races outside who were desperately unleashing their ultimate moves to survive, only to attract even more monsters. Zhang Yi felt no pity whatsoever. This is a test of intelligence. However, as the fighting continued, the situation became increasingly dire. The number of purgers seemed endless, and after consuming vast amounts of energy, they began to advance. Its originally transparent body began to solidify and even grew an outer shell resembling armor. Several gigantic purifiers, each over 1,000 meters tall, appeared. The aura emanating from them had clearly reached the level of night. Roar! A night-level purifier let out a silent roar and crashed into the flagship of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Boom! That heavily armed war fortress was actually rammed and pierced with a huge hole. Damn it! How can there be a night-level monster? The Tyrannosaurus Rex Emperor, Qing Tsong, was enraged. He could not tolerate the slaughter of his fleet. Since they've dodged it, then let's wipe them all out. Red Fong stepped out of the warship, let out a roar, and his body suddenly swelled to 1,000 meters, transforming into a Tyrannosaurus Rex burning with hellfire. Flame Dragon Breath. A massive, dark red pillar of fire erupted, instantly vaporizing dozens of low-level purifiers, and then slammed into the night-level purifier. The great battle has entered a fever pitch. At the heart of this devastating energy storm, the dragon fleet was like a fallen leaf in the eye of the storm. Though it appeared to be in grave danger, it maintained an eerie tranquility. Occasionally, I'll take action to clear out any of the troublemakers that need to be dealt with. Bai Long calmly said, but remember, only use physical strength or low-energy techniques, and absolutely do not use large-scale destructive abilities. Zhang Yi nodded and drew the god-slaying bow. This time, he didn't infuse any energy into the bow, nor did he use any void power. He drew the bowstring solely through his own powerful physical strength. Whoosh! A specially made solid alloy arrow was shot out, silently piercing the head of a lone experimental monster. The absence of energy fluctuations would naturally attract the attention of the purifiers. That's what you call professionalism. Zhang Yi put away his bow and looked at the battlefield outside, which resembled a living hell, with a deep gaze. Let them fight. When they're exhausted, that's when we'll really step in. Chapter 28:16 Free State 2. The Starry Sky Corridor, this blue scar stretching across the universe, is now completely boiling over. The once lifeless white void was shattered into pieces by countless beams of energy. The roar of warships, the fury of the strange men, and the shrieks of monsters intertwined to create a chaotic and bloody symphony. Damn it! Why are there more and more of these transparent, ghostly things the more I fight them? A powerful warrior from the Tuth tribe, a chariot-level warrior, desperately swung his chainsaw sword, cleaving a free-floating purifier in two. But in a second, the shattered spirit seemed to reassemble as if possessed by magnetism, its size actually increasing, and its dark blue core flashed with mocking light, instantly piercing through his chest. These are the Purgers. They are the immune systems left by the Star Clan, and they have a morbid obsession with all high-energy reactions. On the battlefield, those fleets that relied on the super-powerful clans and third-rate civilizations were now engaged in fierce fighting. In order to protect themselves, they had no choice but to open the warship's cannons for a barrage of attacks. Boom! Antimatter cannons, plasma torpedoes, high-energy lasers. Multicolored, destructive light bloomed in the void. However, this is the food, that the purgers love most. The more intense the energy fluctuations, the wider the void rifts open, and the more exponentially the number of purgers increases. Even a grand night-level purifier, standing 6 meters tall and covered in crystalline armor, appeared. A single energy wave could pierce through a sturdy spaceship. This is a vicious cycle and a dead end. Bite. Just when everyone was in despair, the voice of God, that had been silent for a long time, suddenly rang out again in the minds of some people. That was a warrior who had just fought desperately to kill a night-level purifier Tyrannosaurus Rex. High-risk pollution source eliminated. Assessment: effective cleanup complete. Reward: high-purity ether fragment *1. Without any warning, a golden stream of light, pure beyond description, descended from nowhere and poured directly into the body of the Tyrannosaurus warrior. Roar! The warrior, who was already exhausted and covered in blood, suddenly looked up and let out a long roar. His wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the bottleneck that had been stuck at the peak of the sect level for many years shattered in that instant. His aura surged wildly, and golden dragon scales even grew on the surface of his body. A night-level pressure suddenly erupted. D has broken through? The soldier stared in disbelief at his hands, feeling the vast, ocean-like power within his body. The higher the ability index, the more difficult it is to break through. A black cult's peak-level superhuman, if he wants to break through to the white knight level, even if he's only 1 point short of it, might need to kill more than 3 other superhumans of the same level and forcibly devour their essence to have any chance of doing so. Zhang Yi is a monster, an anomaly born at the end of an era, and it is only because of the large number of enemies that he has the opportunity to kill so many powerful figures. However, few other ethnic groups would dare to take such a risk. If you can kill others, others will naturally have the opportunity to kill you. Not everyone has the courage to risk death to kill opponents of the same level and thus gain a rank advancement. Therefore, this breakthrough by the cult-level superhuman immediately caused a huge sensation. This scene was witnessed by countless eyes around them. After a brief moment of deathly silence, the entire battlefield erupted into chaos. That is a gift from the creator. It is ether. Pure ether. Slaying monsters really does level you up. This isn't just a legend. What was originally fear was instantly replaced by greed. All the aliens turned red-eyed. They no longer regarded the purifiers as deadly Grim Reapers, but as walking experience packs and growth pills. Kill them. The battle situation instantly became even more chaotic. Meanwhile, another astonishing discovery also spread across the battlefield. Several Earthworm clan members, driven to desperation by the purifiers, stumbled into a small, spherical world floating nearby. That small border wasn't very big, only a few dozen kilometers in diameter, and inside was a barren desert. They thought it was a dead end, but to their surprise, they found a crystal that emitted a 7-colored light in the heart of the desert. The moment their hands touched the crystal, a massive flow of information surged into their minds. Item: Boundary Core Fragment. Note: this is the foundation stone of the Star Clan's creation experiment, containing a high concentration of creation ether and fragments of rules. I'm rich. The few Earthworm clan members were overjoyed. This thing was worth more than killing 10 purifiers. So, the Star Clan also needs ethereal energy as a core to create their small worlds. Those smaller worlds that were created later and are close to success definitely contain the core of a more complete world. The news spread like wildfire. The wind direction on the battlefield changed instantly. A large number of powerful beings began to abandon their fight against the endless purgers on the battlefield and instead turned their attention to the surrounding floating spherical worlds like locusts. They also took action. The Dragon Clan was in a concealed state. Zhang Yi watched the scene, and a glint flashed in his eyes. He knew that the depths of the Starry Sky corridor were extremely dangerous, and the further he went, the higher the probability of encountering that indescribable terror. Instead of risking your life deep inside, it's better to reap the benefits on the periphery first. He immediately issued orders to the 6 allied soldiers around him via the communications channel. All men, heed my command. Follow me closely into the surrounding small world. Target the core of this world. Remember, grab it and run. Don't linger in battle. If other races try to take it, fight if you can win, retreat if you can't. Yes, the elite troops of Huashu Kingdom were like hungry wolves in a cage, and Uncle Yu grinned, eager to try. Deng Shintong used his thumb to lift the sword Griffith, his eyes flashing with a silver light. After his complete transformation, he also experienced a qualitative leap. Now he finally has the opportunity to put his skills to practical use. He was given a genuine, divinely granted opportunity to grow rapidly, and of course, he wouldn't miss it. Zhang Yi himself also identified a small, green area that looked quite vibrant and was ready to set off. Just then, thump! A deep, muffled heartbeat suddenly came from the very depths of the starry sky corridor. This heartbeat didn't sound like a voice, but rather like the contraction and expansion of space itself. The hundreds of thousands of supernatural beings in the entire corridor, regardless of their strength, all felt their hearts being squeezed tightly at that moment, their blood surging, and many of the weaker supernatural beings even coughed up a mouthful of blood. Zhang Yi glanced at it once, but his heart wasn't too surprised. Is the great demon coming? Although I already know bits and pieces from historical records, the actual encounter will still be quite shocking. Chapter 28, 17 Creation. The sudden sound of a heartbeat swept over like a shockwave, and many people were so intimidated by this pressure that their faces turned pale. That was the suppressive aura from a higher-level life form. It's like the instinctive reaction of cats and dogs to panic when they smell the scent of a tiger. What happened? Everyone looked into the depths in horror. At the edge of the horizon, in the center of the densest cluster of spherical worlds, there was an enormous supersphere, more than 5 kilometers in diameter. The fruit has an eerie, translucent orange-yellow color, and its surface is covered with red veins that pulsate like blood vessels. From a distance, it looks like a gigantic fertilized egg floating in the universe. Or rather, an egg that's being incubated. Inside the orange-yellow liquid, one could vaguely make out a huge, curled-up shadow. What is that? King Arthur felt his body trembling. What is being conceived inside? Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes slightly, silently shielding everyone in front of him. His gaze instinctively drifted to the 2 leaders of this column. With both heavenly sovereigns present, he was certain he was safe. What's going on? These 2 bosses will take the lead first. Bai Longzi Yuanma and He Long Yuanjing stood side by side, their eyes filled with seriousness, but without any fear. They stared into the depths of the distant starry corridor at the enormous, asteroid-like sphere, ready to venture out at any moment. As the external battle fluctuations escalated, countless turbulent energy currents crashed against the giant egg. Finally, snap! A crack several kilometers long appeared on the surface of the eggshell. Immediately afterwards, a terrifying aura that made everyone feel suffocated leaked out from the crack. The aura was ancient and noble, yet filled with chaos and tyranny, like a god who had not yet learned to control his own power. Whoa!
A cry.
That was the sound of a baby crying. But the cry turned into a tangible sonic storm, instantly sweeping across tens of thousands of kilometers of space. Boom! The first to be hit was the human fleet composed of the rock demon clan closest to the giant egg. In the instant that cry swept across, both the hard rock body and the heavy alloy warship collapsed into the most basic atomic dust. Before they could even scream, an entire elite force of a medium-sized race was reduced to ashes flying everywhere. Even a white knight in the team with an ability index of over 50,000 was caught off guard and killed by the shock. What kind of power is this? Zhang Yi, who was far away, suddenly had his pupils shrink to the size of pinpoints, and his heart was pounding wildly. A single cry was enough to instantly kill several extraordinary individuals. Among them were even high-ranking white knights. Even if he had been in that area just now, he could only have run away. Of course, escaping wouldn't have been a problem for him, The 5-second prophecy ability of the second hand of time allowed him to avoid almost instant kill attacks. But the scene before us is still breathtaking.
Boom.
The giant egg exploded completely. The orange-yellow slime gushed out like a tsunami, each drop containing terrifying energy capable of corroding the space itself. Bathed in that slimy liquid, a bizarre creature that could drive anyone's sanity to the brink of collapse slowly unfurled its body. It was a huge fetus. The figure is over 1.5 meters tall, completely naked, with a sickly pale complexion and golden divine patterns flowing across its face. The back of the dog was torn apart, and 6 pairs of bloody, fleshy wings grew out, each wing covered with eyes. At the top of its enormous head grows a spiral-shaped horn that emits a 7-colored light. With his eyes closed, he floated in the void, exuding a terrifying aura known as Emperor. That is. Bai Longzi Yuanma stood at the bow of the Zulong, his face more solemn than ever before. He glanced at Zhang Yi beside him, his lips barely moving before he uttered the word that sent chills down the spines of everyone in the know. The Omega Echo in the Jamin records. Zhang Yi was shocked. Of course he knew what it was. In the Jamin records, the Star Clan, in order to fight against the Creator and break the shackles of the universe, attempted to create a perfect ultimate life form, the Transcendent, through genetic processes and spiritual fusion. Just like how the Aihen tribe created Ling. However, the Star Clan failed. Their civilization was probably also erased by the Creator. It seems so. After all, no one knows the truth. As it turns out, the favored child of the gods and the sharp blade of the gods are ultimately not on the same level. The Star Clan created this weapon to fight the Drukians, but it did not receive any blessing from the Creator. Because of the rebellion of the Druk people, the Creator also reserved the Star Clan for them. However, the Star Clan's experiments did not completely cease. Within this enclosed starry corridor, the embryos sealed within the small world continue to slowly develop, relying on the remaining automatic systems. The enormous fetus in front of us is a semi-finished product that is very close to success. It possesses characteristics belonging to Omega, but lacks the soul and reason to match them. It's like an abandoned child possessing divine power. Buzz. The enormous fetus slowly opened its eyes. What kind of eyes were those? The eye of the is the rising sun. The eye of the is the black hole of destruction. Innocence and evil, creation and destruction, intertwine in the eye of the. Looking at the warships around him, which resembled ants, he grinned, revealing an innocent smile. Then, stretched out its chubby little and gently grabbed at the void. Snap. Space is broken. Several celestial race warships that were fleeing were crushed into iron discs by an invisible giant goo, bursting out with blood mist. Du is alive, and Du is eating. He Longyuan said in a deep voice, Dong is absorbing the souls and energy of the dead, and Dong is still progressing. We can't let's continue to grow. A sacred roar echoed in the sky. This is blasphemy against the Creator. It is heresy that must be purged. Archangel Pymir moved. He cannot remain still. As the initiator of this operation, if the feathered people are allowed to slaughter the allied forces, their prestige will be completely destroyed. Moreover, Kagago's highest divine decree was to erase these mistakes. You, Queen-level powerhouse, please fight alongside me. The powerful figures from other races exchanged glances. This was a war that only Queen-level experts were qualified to participate in. Even if Zhang Yi were to force his way in, it would be difficult for him to cause much damage to those level of beings. At best, he could only play a support role. Chapter 28 18A Strange Ability. Under the summoning of Bymir, the powerful figures of the 6 super races finally made their move. They came specifically to target these purgers. The Creator set the rules of the game and issued the tasks. Of course, they had to participate. Otherwise, where would they find so much advanced etheric matter? Bai Longzi and He Long said calmly to Zhang Yi and the others behind them, We're going to take down that guy. From now on, you all focus on the operation and proceed according to plan. Zhang Yi nodded silently to them. All their actions had been planned before they came. The space in front of Bai Longzi distorted, and the two of them instantly disappeared from their original spot. His speed was so fast that it far surpassed Zhang Yi's, leaving him speechless with amazement. This is a divine war destined to be recorded in the annals of Earth's history. In this alien space far from their homeland, facing the abandoned child of God, who is almost invincible, the leaders of the 6 super races finally stopped holding back and revealed their terrifying strength in suppressing an entire era. Celestial Divine Light, Judgment. Archangel Pymir made the first move. He hovered at an altitude of 10,000 meters, his 12 wings of light fully extended, blotting out the sky. Countless holy feathers transformed into scattered points of light, each instantly expanding to form a platinum pillar of light 100 meters in diameter, like a sword of divine punishment, carrying the power of purification and fiercely striking the enormous fetus. Boom, 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 boom. The beams of light rained down, engulfing that void in a sea of white light. However, when the light faded, the enormous fetus, however, was completely unharmed. The viscous, orange-yellow liquid on its surface seemed to writhe as if it were alive, devouring and absorbing all the divine light. Giggle. The fetus let out a joyful laugh, as if thanking Bymir for feeding it. What? Bymir's expression changed. Energy immunity? Yes, it's energy absorption. What's the use of just being flashy? Watch this. A thunderous roar erupted. The Tyrannosaurus Rex's emperor, Qing transformed into a streak of crimson lightning, instantly traversing a distance of hundreds of kilometers. Instead of using any ranged attacks, he manifested his true form as a Tyrannosaurus Rex that was thousands of meters tall. Wrapped in crimson, world-destroying lightning, a dragon claw powerful enough to shatter continental plates slammed down on the fetus's head with unparalleled physical kinetic energy and destructive power. Shatter the darkness with thunder. Bang! This blow landed squarely on Kim. The lightning, like a giant blade, crashed down from the sky with a deafening roar, striking the fetus squarely on the head. A massive shockwave swept across the area, instantly pulverizing the dozens of spherical worlds floating nearby. The enormous fetus was struck and sank downwards, and even a crack appeared on the single horn on its head.
Ouch.
That hurts. The fetus emitted an angry cry. Its once innocent and naive face instantly became incredibly ferocious, and 2 beams of destructive death light shot out from its heterochromatic eyes, rushing straight at Qing. Danger. A black figure appeared in front of Qing, as if by teleportation. Dragon Clan, Black Dragon Abyss is still. He did not use any weapons, his arms were crossed, and his muscles were like cast iron, exuding a calm and steady aura. All laws invade. Black scale barrier. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The 2 beams of death light, powerful enough to evaporate stellar matter, struck Yuan Jing. However, the black dragon scales on his body seemed to possess some kind of absolute negation rule, shattering and turning all energy attacks that came into contact with them into nothingness. Yuan Jing was pushed back 1,000 meters, her arms steaming, but she actually withstood the blow. What a powerful physical body. Zhang Yi, watching from a distance, felt his eyelids twitch. Is this the foundation of the dragon race? With this level of defense, it could probably withstand several shots from an antimatter cannon, right? Don't give it a chance to breathe. Attack together. Bai Longzi Yuanma moved. He raised his right hand, his palm loosely clenched, and with a distortion of space, a double-edged decapitation sword appeared in his hand. Yuan Mo lightly swung the double-edged sword in his hand, not slashing at the fetus, but slashing at the void around it. All is emptiness. Spatial stripping. Buzz. The space around the fetus suddenly shifted. The conduit through which it was drawing free energy from the starry sky corridor was instantly severed. Bai Longzi temporarily isolated the area where it was located from the larger space, cutting off its supplies. Sealed away in extreme cold, Colin, the Winter Queen of the Ice River clan, walked barefoot through the air, freezing the void with each step she took. She stretched out her slender, pale finger and pointed it at the fetus from a distance. This is ordinary freezing, which is the concept of stillness. The constantly wriggling, viscous fluid on the fetus's surface began to harden and crystallize rapidly under this finger. That originally vibrant life energy was forcibly suppressed to a freezing point. Storm cut. The celestial race's great transformation, a blue hurricane, spinned wildly around the frozen fetus. Hundreds of millions of wind blades, like microscopic surgery, cut into the gaps in the viscous fluid, attempting to sever its nerve endings. The combined power of 6 extraordinary individuals at the Empress level is overwhelming. The original Omega Echo, under this round of exquisite coordinated attacks, seemed to be trapped in a desperate situation. However, just when everyone thought the victory was assured, the enormous fetus, frozen in solid ice, suddenly stopped struggling. Its mouth split open again, all the way to its ears. Hee, it's fun, it's fun. A chilling mental fluctuation emanated from the area. Immediately afterwards, the single horn on its head suddenly emitted an eerie gray light. That is, Zhang Yi's second hand of time suddenly jumped, foreseeing a deathly gray-white scene appear on the screen. Okay, it's the time rule, Zhang Yi shouted out. Unfortunately, it was too late. Reverse turn. The fetus uttered 2 indistinct, unclear syllables. Buzz. A gray light swept across. An extremely bizarre scene unfolded. The solid ice that originally covered it melted and evaporated at a speed visible to the naked eye, even turning back into the original water element particles. Those wind blades that pierced its body actually flew out backwards, recombining into the storm released by the Great Vault. Even the wound left by Chingsong's claw was quickly restored in the reversal of time, as if he had been injured before. Time reversed. Moreover, it is a local time reversal targeting one's own state and surrounding inanimate matter. How are we supposed to fight this? Chingsong roared in anger. This spread is cheating. I worked so hard to deal damage, and it just rolled back the entire game in a second. Chapter 28:19 Omega Echoes. What's there to panic about? By Longzi Yuanma spoke calmly. The time rule consumes a huge amount of resources. How long has it lasted? Moreover, it's just an echo. What is the real Omega must have a cooldown period or limitations. At their level, what kind of G haven't they seen? After the transformation of the Queen level, the universe returns to its original state, and they will gradually all end up going down different paths. Therefore, everything becomes simpler and purer as you progress. Sealing techniques are more effective against this kind of guy. Yuan Mo looked to another direction. 2 members of the Moon Clan, it's up to you now. The 2 powerful Lunarians, who had been hovering on the edge of the battlefield, looking for an opportunity, finally made their move. No one is more skilled in sealing arts than the Moon people. In fact, it could be said that they were created specifically to seal and break seals. Yin Yueshi raised her crescent blade high, and a cold, silvery moon phantom appeared behind her. Moon Goddess's decree. Eternal imprisonment. The silvery moonlight transformed into countless chains, ignoring physical and quantitative defenses, and directly locked the fetus's limbs and wings. That was a seal on its soul, instantly slowing down its movements. The most fatal blow came from the woman in the black robe, Dark Moon Misa. She stretched out one hand, palm down. Countless black grains of sand flowed from between her fingers, transforming into a black sandstorm that blotted out the sky and the void. Sand between fingers. This is ordinary sand. This is the dust of time, the embodiment of decay. Since you've reversed time and gone back to the past. Dark Moon Misa's voice was hoarse and indifferent. Then I'll accelerate your time and send you to the future, that rotten future. Call. A black sandstorm enveloped the enormous fetus. At this moment, 2 diametrically opposed rules of time collided violently. The fetus wants to reverse time and restore its state, but the sand between its fingers is frantically accelerating its aging and decay. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The fetus's originally smooth and fair skin began to rapidly become dry, dull, and even develop lividity under the erosion of the black sand. Wah, you're all bad people. You're all bad people. The fetus felt real pain and aging, and it went mad. It defends again, and it tries to roll back again. Its 12 fleshy wings spread wide, and blood tears flowed from the eyes of each wing. Destroy? Destroy them all. Boom. A terrifying power, surpassing the sum of all previous attacks, erupted from its body. It was as if it had ignited its own source, dragging these 6 emperors to their doom. That was a collapsing supernova. Retreat immediately. Bamir was terrified and retreated rapidly. But Hailonji Wenjing retreated and advanced. Trying to self-destruct? Did you even ask me? This incredibly powerful black dragon actually charged directly into the about-to-explode core of the monstrous mass. He opened his arms and hugged the enormous fetus tightly. All laws invade. Absolute silence. He acted as a giant humanoid suppressor, using his body and the rules to forcibly suppress that riotous force. Old Bai. Do it. Yuan Jing roared. Bai Longzi Yuanma nodded, his hand moving without the slightest hesitation. A double-edged sword is wielded. This sword severed cause and effect, severed space, and severed the last chance of life for this tragic life. Next exile. A massive spatial rift opened behind the fetus, a one-way ticket to the depths of the turbulent currents. At that moment, the thunder spear of Tyrannosaurus Emperor Qingsong, the absolute zero of Ice Queen, and the second slash of Celestial Race all struck the fetus. Bang! Under this devastating combined attack, the enormous life form known as Omega Echo finally let out its last mournful cry. Its body disintegrated, turning into a shower of light. That core, the one that contained countless efforts of the Star Clan and even touched the threshold of Omega, shattered into 6 large crystals under everyone's watchful eyes. The 6 emperors acted almost simultaneously, each seizing a fragment. The battle seemed to have ended just like that. Warships in the distance. Zhang Yi let out a deep breath. His back was soaked with cold sweat. That's incredible. Is this what battles at the Queen level look like? The sheer power of that ability to rewrite the rules with a mere gesture and destroy stars with a casual remark instilled a deep-seated tremor in him, a man who had just stepped into the realm of the Black Knights. The gap is still quite large. Zhang Yi clenched his fists, the fear in his eyes gradually fading, replaced by an even more fervent ambition. However, it is precisely because of the large gap that this game is more interesting. Omega Echo. Even a failed prototype is this strong. What would it be like if it were a truly perfect version? He looked deeper into the starry sky corridor. There are even more secrets, more dangers, and more opportunities there. The immense storm stirred up by Longzi and the others made the starry sky corridor spin even faster. Now, although they seem to have traveled tens of thousands of kilometers, for this enormous star, they're still inside the long neck passage at the entrance. It is still a very long distance from the core area of the starry sky corridor. Let's go. While the big shots are looting, let's pick up some scraps. With a wave of his hand, Zhang Yi led the Huaxiu Kingdom's fleet, quietly bypassing the recently quelled battlefield, and headed in another direction. As the 6 emperors devoured the core of the Omega Echo, the aftershocks of that earth-shattering divine war had not yet subsided when Bailongzi Yuanma led the elite of the dragon race and rushed, without hesitation, into the deepest part of the starry sky corridor. That place is a forbidden zone that only the strong are qualified to enter. It is the core of the Star Clan's chessboard. As he watched the dragon fleet gradually disappear into the dark blue vortex, the fervor in Zhang Yi's eyes cooled, replaced by extreme calmness and rationality. Lord Chaos, shall we go with him? King Arthur held the stone sword, his gaze filled with a mixture of longing and hesitation. After all, following behind a big shot may only get you a small share of the spoils, but it's safer. Go with Kim. Zhang Yi turned around and looked at the Night King as if he were a fool. That's the dining table of a queen-level expert. Do you think you're there to eat, or to be the food? Zhang Yi pointed to the turbulent spatial currents in the distance, which were still collapsing and reforming. The most important thing in life is
That's
to have
today's
self-awareness.
chapter.
Knowing your own
Tell me in
limitations is
comments
more
which part
important
you
than
like.
anything else.
If you
In a
love
battle
manga
of that
stories,
level,
don't forget
even
to
the
like
slightest
video
aftershock
and
could
subscribe
wipe
the
us
Buzz
out.
of Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises. Thank you.